So the Pistons were involved in one of those trades in Saddiq Bey and Kevin Knox shipped out, and Saddiq Bey ends up in Atlanta, and Atlanta gave up 5 second-round picks to Golden State. What are we getting here? We're getting Golden State's Darko. And, you know, he was supposed to be the future star at Golden State. He'd be a rotation guy who is developing while helping Golden State squeeze in as many titles as they could get with Steph and Clay and Draymond as the nucleus, but also be ready to be the centerpiece of the next great Warriors team, James Wiseman. Well, it didn't happen. Now, the word out of Golden State was that they didn't think he was developing.
Well, he was hurt. He got hurt.
He's been hurt.
The 3 years he's been there, and you know that was an issue. I, for one, it's a little bittersweet for me. I love the opportunity of getting a guy who's this young, second pick overall. Obviously, he's got talent. That's the. I hope that that's still there. Unfortunately, there's a lot against him. He's got to work through it and stay healthy. The part that really pissed me off was that Golden State had the second overall pick to begin with. And we all know why. They had injuries to deal with. Clay and Steph were out for most of the season, and thus they end up with the second pick overall, which sucked because you got a team in the midst of being a dynasty, takes a year off to acquire one of the best players you can get in the draft, and then they get healthy, and then they win more championships. So I was happy that it didn't work out for Golden State, but I'm leery that, okay, is it going to work out for the Pistons?
That was the draft in which we were so upset after the lottery because the Pistons were authentically bad and Golden State was not authentically bad, and they scored. Well, we end up getting the player here when it's all said and done. The word out of Golden State is there's a degree of frustration because they felt like Wiseman could have been traded at a number of times and fetched a much higher price than what they ended up getting, which was the 5 second-rounders. So the question is, why did Troy Weaver take on this project and take on the $9.6 million, $12.1 million, and $15.8 million if they decide to keep him for year 3? And it's because of where the Pistons are, and maybe more importantly, who the Pistons are. The Pistons are not the Lakers. They're not Miami. They're not a marquee team with free agents dying to play for them. And you need to somehow find a way to break through and become a marquee team. And let's face it, Golden State is a prime example of an organization, a franchise that the bulk of our lives were insignificant on the grander NBA scale, right? But then they broke through, and they got Clay, and they got Steph, and they scored a second-round gem in Draymond, and they got so hot they built a new arena, and they've won championships. And they escaped that tag of being a forgotten, boring, second-class franchise in the NBA. It's a place that people now want to play. And Detroit, I mean, they could have stayed the course with Saddiq Bey. But this feels like a relatively low-risk, high-reward kind of gamble. Saddiq Bey, there's a chance he could get better. But it feels to me like he is closer to his ceiling than James Wiseman is to his. Would you agree?
I would agree 100% because I don't think James Wiseman has even scratched the surface of what his potential is. I mean, I think you sort of flippantly called him the Golden State's Darko, but it's the truth. Even with the Pistons, when the Pistons had Darko for 2 years, Darko hadn't even scratched the surface because he'd always been hurt. Remember, he got hurt in the summer league before he could even play his first summer league. He was out for a long time. Can't play on the Pistons that rookie season because, well, Larry Brown's not going to play him because they had a championship team. Then gets into, the final moments of a NBA final series, breaks his hand, misses the entire second season of off-season opportunity. Right. He just never had the chance, and it gets traded away to Orlando and gets playing time, but just looks so damn raw that he never really had his full opportunity, and I kind of felt bad for him. Wiseman, it feels like it's a similar route because of the injuries and also the team he was on a championship caliber team. I'm hoping the change of pace here or a change of venue here in Detroit works out better for him than the change of venue for Darko worked out for him.
So if you look at Weaver's pattern, it's kind of funny. Last year, trade deadline, They traded Trey Lyles, Josh Jackson, and 2 second-round picks for former number 2 overall pick Marvin Bagley.
Mm-hmm.
This year, he trades Saddiq Bey to Golden State for former number 2 overall pick James Wiseman.
With Kevin Knox.
If it hits, if either one of these hit, but if this one hits, then you're off and running, right?
Yes.
You've landed a star player if it hits. Now, this guy's played 60 games in his career or something like that. It's around 60. He hasn't even played an entire season.
It's a lot like we talk about Killian Hayes.
Yep. Of Golden State's last 19 games, he's been inactive or got a DNP CD 17 times. This is a player that needs to be on a team where he's allowed to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. He hasn't had that.
No, and here he'll have that opportunity with the Pistons. Now, he's not going to play 30 minutes a night. I believe they envision him. I thought I read that it's going to be a backup center to start off with and see where he's at. But the Pistons have a little bit of a logjam now of big men with Nerlens Noel and Wiseman, Duran, Stewart, and Bagley. They got a lot of guys there. Obviously, they're not all going to be on the Pistons. So I'm curious to see what happens on draft night or in the offseason when they do start to move players, because they will move players.
Now, there's a lot of why have they continued to go after bigs in a league
that is not big, big friendly.
And I had a thought yesterday, kind of jarred by a friend of mine, Craig.
Oh.
Said, well, the 2 championships the Pistons have won, they have gone the other way. Like, they have gone the opposite. They weren't the Showtime Lakers. And they played defense in 2004.
Like we never seen.
Yeah, and so they have, in the 2 times that Detroit has won a championship, it's by going the other way. Now, I don't know that they're intentionally hoarding bigs, but they've got a number of athletic bigs. Bagley, Wiseman, Duran. These are athletic bigs. And I'm going to be intrigued to see if they are part of the plan or it's just, hey, we've got, throw in Noel, we've got, 4 of these guys. Which ones are going to survive?
I think either way, though, it was worth a shot for Weaver because if you believe the reports, he had Wiseman ranked really high when he came out in that draft, right?
Yep.
And they think that Saddiq had peaked as a Piston. That doesn't mean he's not going to get better anywhere else. Maybe this was just the wrong environment for him. Maybe that, what they wanted Saddiq to do, it wasn't going to happen here, and they weren't going to pay him, right?
Yep.
So what you do is you move him for an asset, and what they think was a guy who didn't play over Golden State for whatever. And let me tell you right now, Golden State wanted Wiseman to work out. They are thin at the center position. I mean, they got, Draymond's been doing that for a long time now, playing undersized big, but they use Looney. They've always kind of rotated a big in and out every single year. They kind of find a guy that just gets it enough done for them. Wiseman was supposed to be better than that. He was a 2nd overall pick. If he had worked out, he'd still be there. But he didn't work out. He didn't develop in time, couldn't get into the rotation, injuries and all that stuff. In the end, it was a complete salary dump. They saved like $130 million in the next 2 years because of salary, taxes.
It's the tax.
The Golden State Warriors are way above the luxury tax because
insane.
that's how you keep a dynasty together. Is you have to keep paying guys and you have to keep paying the tax.
That's why the NBA is a funny league when it comes to their salary cap because they don't really have a salary cap.
Well, if you re-sign your own guys
Right.
and you're willing to pay the luxury tax. Now, he wasn't going to do anything for him. Save money. Get rid of him for 5 second-round picks. Who cares,
Yep.
right? We're saving $130 million. So they dumped him to anyone that would take him. The Pistons, they're one of the teams that can take on money, and they don't have to go over the cap to pay luxury taxes. So this was a win-win for both, I think, in the end, because if unless you think Saddiq Bey is going to be something really good, otherwise you had to move on.
So I don't love it. I mean, it might sound like I love it. I don't love it, but that's much of the logic I believe behind this move. And there's potential here. There's real potential here. It's a calculated risk, and they're looking for a breakthrough. This could be it.
Well, we all hope it works out.
Yep.
Keep an open mind, see what happens. But does have a little bit of a feel like the Pistons left some meat on the table with moves that they could have been made that weren't made, and yet I'll still give. He's got the NBA draft night, and we've got the offseason to make some more trades if that's possible. Did you, by the way, notice how many former Pistons got traded yesterday?
I did not.
Mason Plumlee was traded for
44.
Well, it's 42. Mason Plumlee got traded for Reggie Jackson, which is hilarious. Svi Mykhailiuk was part of a trade. Luke Kennard was part of a trade. Justin Jackson was part of a trade. All this happened yesterday.
We've had a lot of inconsequential players on our roster.
This is kind of the NBA at this point too.
Serge Ibaka played with the Pistons for a little bit?
No.
No?
But you will shortly.
Okay. Yeah, give him time.
Future Piston.
Yeah, but there were a bunch of them that were traded yesterday.